Hey, welcome back to Not Hardly Broken. We are Not Hardly Broken. I'm Kenya.
I'm Terrence.
And we're just glad to be here again.
Yeah.
We have been hearing so much feedback from all the populations of people out there. The singles, the married. Yeah, the singles, the married. Those who are looking, those who are desiring to be married, just all kinds of questions, and we're loving it. This is what we feed off of. When you ask us a question, we just feel like we can just share. So keep the questions coming. Definitely do us a favor and like, share, and subscribe. The subscriptions are going to be important, you guys, because as you want to hear more, if you subscribe, then our channel gets to be a little bit bigger and a little bit more impactful for the world, because we want to be able to help couples, singles all across the world. So do us a favor and make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you can get all the notifications when we're on. Okay?
Yeah.
So today we're talking to the singles again. Singles, we got you. You know, you all are asking and we're talking. So keep that momentum coming. One of the most recent questions we were asked was, when you're dating, what if you get to a point where you realize there's some things you don't like about the person you're dating? Mm-hmm. What do you do? And so that is always a loaded question, because there's a few compartments there. Dating and then courtship, which we think and believe that it's a difference. Dating, as Terrence described, is the beginning.
It's the beginning. It's the interview process. Mm-hmm. So you're asking a bunch of questions, probing questions to your partner, trying to find out who they are, what they are about, where they've been, what they've done, what are their future aspirations.
Their temperament.
Exactly, yeah. Temperaments, how are they in relationship with their siblings, with their parents, with their friends, what happened on their last relationship, all these different questions. So when you're dating, you asking these questions. Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask these questions, because you need to know.
Absolutely.
What is your medical history?
Yeah.
What is your credit history?
You need to know.
Are you working?
Yeah.
Are you gainfully employed?
Or do you plan to work?
Do you have your own business?
Right.
Different questions like that. You want to know these things and get these things out of the way during the dating process. Yes. Because the dating process, like I said, is the interview session. Yes. You're interviewing them for possibly a marriage, a marital job, relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's work.
Because even when I think we approach the dating and marital process a little bit backwards, because so many people just date, and when the person proposes to them, they're just so wedding driven that they're no longer courting. And that's the next part. The courting is once you've determined, and we're gonna still talk a little bit more about dating, but the courting process is once you've determined that this is a person that you would like to pursue life with. And sometimes we just jump right over that part, but there is still the part where you're having to learn each other and continue to grow in that department and not be so wedding focused. So the courting, when you start courting, you already pretty much are engaged to be married, pretty much. But that dating, like Terrence says, is the interview. The whole entire time. You don't, it's nothing wrong with asking so many questions. That's what you're trying to eliminate. You're trying to eliminate this person from the do not see pile and move them over to, this is the one pile. And there is necessary to have a line of questioning every single time. That's what your conversation should be made of. Right. When they take you out to dinner, when they come by the house, or when you all are hanging with friends, these are the conversations that you should be having. Not necessarily conversations that you would begin to have when you're courting, because you're talking about marital things, but conversations that you should be having to determine if this is someone who needs to make it to the next part of your life. Right. That's what your conversation needs to be full of.
Right. Like Kenya was saying, when you're dating, it's kind of like buying a car. I know it's not the same situation, but if you take a test drive and you like how it feels, and then you feel comfortable in the car, Now you want to sign the papers and you want to buy the car, but you didn't check the Carfax. If you're buying a used car, you didn't kick the tires around. You didn't check to see if all the lights were working, the headlights, the brake lights. You didn't check to see if the windows rolled up and down in the back, you know, all the bells and whistles of the car, but you just bought the car because you liked the feeling and you didn't ask the right questions. So now you bought this car and now you drive it home, and then a couple of days later, you find out that when you turn the key in the ignition, the car doesn't turn over. And then you have to do it a couple of times for the car to start. And now you're like, oh, okay. You know, you want your money back, but you can't get your money back because, you know, the days that you're supposed to take it back, it's over. The statute of limitations, whatever you want to call it, the warranty was over because it was, you know, you didn't realize that you bought an as is. You don't want an as is person for a spouse or a mate. And so that's why we're just harping on the fact that you gotta ask these questions. You gotta ask these questions because once you ask these questions and then you're satisfied with the response and you feel good and you feel comfortable, you met the friends, you met the parents, you met the spiritual leadership and everything. Now the man establishes and says, I want to take you off the market. We're dating exclusively. You're not seeing anyone else. I'm not seeing anyone else. I want a future with you. And now you start the courting relationship. And so the courting relationship is going to be very important and pertinent because now, after you found out about each other and you ask all these questions about each other in the dating process, now you want to take a strong, hard look at yourself and figure out what you're bringing to the table emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, and you want to put that all out there. And if you're not meeting the standard or you're not coming up to par with what you need before you enter into an engagement or into a marriage, you're going to have to make some real hard self-assessments, and you may have to dial it back just a little bit, slow it down so that you can get to where you need to be in order to marry this person. One of the things before marrying Kenya, we didn't have much, you know, I didn't have much. And to me, I'm still scratching my head why she said yes. You know, pretty much had a job, not even that. Anyway, we'll talk about that in another video, but you know, it's a blessing, but it's also a surprise that we're still together because of how we started. Very humble beginnings, but God, you know, was in the middle of our marriage and kept us together, you know, for almost 21 years now. But what we're telling couples now is to really, you know, one of the things that I did do was I had to take a look at myself and what I was bringing to the table. Not the assets, but the baggage. Always got, because everyone has baggage, everyone has flaws, no one is perfect. And so I was bringing in some baggage and I wanted to deal with that baggage. Past relationships, poor money management.
Let me throw a plug in here. There's a book called Marriage, the Journey, How Do You Handle Your Baggage by Stephen Butterfield.
Stephen and Ann Butterfield.
Stephen is the only one that wrote it, but they work together and they have a YouTube channel as well. So definitely go out and purchase that book. It's on all the book publishing or book purchasing sites. A shameless plug for the Butterfields.
Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah, so we were talking about the book. Before we were talking about the book,
I said about the baggage.
Baggage, yeah. So
that's
you got,
where I went with it.
Yeah, so you got to deal with your own personal baggage. So if each individual deal with their own personal baggage, then when they come to the table together, they're able to say I do, knowing that, you know, I'm committed on working on myself. If you're committed on working on yourself, then we're going to be good and we're going to be able to handle different obstacles because it's going to be pretty tough trying to handle arguments, handle, you know, heavy duty fellowship, handle obstacles and different things that may come your way if you're still dealing with major issues about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And that process is, like Terrence says, is about working on you. So maybe you get to the point in this relationship journey that you realize either this person that I'm dating has some things that I do not like, then early on, you're still in the interview process, you can deny or decline the job offer. You can always decline because you haven't committed to courting and being exclusive with this individual. And so then you can just jump ship. You can abort the mission. You do not have to continue. If there are some quirks about this individual that you find are just a deal breakers, I mean, you would be the one to determine what those deal breakers are, but definitely let me help you. If you notice that he's abusive, or if you notice that he doesn't, he or she, I apologize, doesn't have any self-control, you know, they are binging on unhealthy things, you know, whether that's food or things they see visually, just unhealthy things. If you notice some of these addictive personality traits and things like that that you notice early on, this is the time to abort the mission
during the dating process. Now, what if you don't see these things and it's not talked about during the dating process? You asked, but you know, you didn't, it wasn't revealed to you. Now you're courting and you're on the way to engagement or even marriage. Now what?
Now what? Now if you've gotten past the dating phase and now you're into the courting and you're preparing for marriage, you still, if there are some major things that you cannot overlook, like you just determined that they're abusive, you still have an opportunity to get out. You have an opportunity to get out of that forever.
You do have an opportunity to get out, and you should, because all that information, especially if you asked for it initially and it wasn't revealed to you, then there's an issue there, because now you're lying.
Yeah.
You know, there's deceit there. There's, you know,
distrust and
deception and all that stuff, you know, because it should have been revealed when you asked. So, you know, you should get out of it. But what makes it kind of complicated if you're kind of you mix sex into it before you get married.
Now
because
you're soul tied.
Now you're soul tied. Your emotions are tied to this person.
Yes.
Your energy, your soul is tied to this person. So now you got to unravel all that before you can make a clear decision to say, I can't go forth in this.
And that's a whole lot, and we'll probably have to really dig a lot on that one, because when you're talking about soul tying and all of those things, that's a whole nother realm and depth. So we'll come back to you guys about that. But just to continue and finish this off, if you get to that deal breaker situation and you're in the courting phase, you still have the opportunity to get out. However, this is the other part, and this is sometimes where us ladies particularly go wrong, when we try to overlook certain things, like, oh, it'll be better, or it's not going to be that bad, or I can handle that, or they'll change. Oh my goodness, that is absolutely shooting yourself in the foot to even utter any of those words, because the only reason anybody changes is because they want to. And not just ladies, men have to deal with that too, because now you can see certain nuances that you did not see initially. You know, after a few months of dating and now you're courting, now, you know, the person is feeling a lot more comfortable and allowing some things to kind of slip that they were kind of, you know, holding back on. And so now, you know, when you're eating, you know, she's okay with burping in front of you now, or, you know, letting out a fart. Hey, I'm just keeping it real. But nothing's really wrong with that.
Nothing's wrong with that. But, you know, all this time we was going out to eat, you was holding it in. Now you feel comfortable and doing it in my face. Something wrong here.
Now that might be a deal breaker for some people.
Well, but this is not a deal breaker, but it's something that you got to look at. Like, is she gonna be doing this in my face for all this? You know,
she might.
Yeah, she might.
Absolutely.
Are you okay with that?
Right. You got to know. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with her expression of gas? You know, whichever way it comes. Yeah. But and
we're making a lot of it. It could be some bigger issues than that. You know, but we just want you to look at all angles.
Yeah, for instance, I mean, if you are sitting there with the person you're dating, now courting, and every time the game is on, they have some just wild, explosive responses to losses where they're just cussing you out and knocking over stuff. Now, that might indicate, that they have some self-control issues, that they don't know how to manage their emotions, Now, I know there are some fans, some enthusiasts, team enthusiasts who really, get into a sport. And I'm not knocking that at all because I love basketball. But I'm talking about this destructive side of doing all of that when they can't handle their team losing, and they start sulking for days. Those types of things, they can be worked at, but at the same time, that's something you need to pay attention to because it may indicate something deeper they're going. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I wanted to go, was that if there are things that come up that are not necessarily deal breakers, but it is something you feel like maybe you can manage, but it's something that you're really going to have to work on. Those are growth points because nobody is perfect. So I want to make sure we're telling you that no one is perfect. Not everyone, checks off all the boxes. However, there are some people who are just clearly not marital material for you. Mm-hmm. And then there are some people that God puts in your path are to strengthen your walk. Yeah. And then there are some that he allows in your path that you need to discern what is the path to take. Right. So not necessarily a deal breaker, but something that you want to look at and kind of hone in on it. And then ask those questions like, look, I noticed how you reacted after the game on yesterday, and it kind of concerns me. These are my concerns. And let that person, whether it's the man or the woman, let that person explain to you, what went on there. Now, it's a problem if this man or woman cannot explain or does not have the words to articulate what was going on, or just shuts down and doesn't want to tell you anything. That's a real major concern, because if you're marrying someone that cannot articulate and express their feelings in a right way, in a sense that you can understand them, then you're about to have hell to pay when you say I do, because now you're going to be dealing with a ticking time bomb that can explode at any second because they're quiet and they keep to themselves. How are you going to keep to yourself? Now you join with another person and you becoming one. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit. It's so much more now that we're digging into all of that, but there are a lot of things we need to probably put you up on game about concerning that, just because there are so many ways that you can handle certain of these situations, because even that, there may be growth points, but then again, those are things that you don't have to deal with if that's not if you see that already, that's not something you have to deal with. Right, but we're going to deal with that in another episode. But we thank you for tuning in to Not Hardly Broken. We got more content for you guys, and we appreciate the questions as well as the comments. Keep them coming. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Yes. We love you guys. See you next time.